has a high resolving power. So that was our focus, was to use Y chromosome testing on the evidence items.
Okay. You said that there was thought that there might be small amounts of DNA. Do you know where did that come from? Do you know?
Well, I think that was inferred through, because we knew that the SBI had already looked at the material. I can't recall exactly how this information was transferred to us, but we were aware that the SBI looked at the material. The SBI is a good lab, and we knew that they had a mixture. We knew that there was only a minor amount of DNA on some of that mixture. We knew they looked at other items where they were and weren't able to find good profiles. So we were going under the assumption that this was going to be a tough case.
Okay. And let me ask you a general question. You understood that this was an alleged sexual assault case, and if a sexual assault or rape occurs, is it necessary or required for ejaculation to occur to leave male DNA on the victim?
No.
Did you have in-person meetings to discuss the testing and the results in the Duke lacrosse case with anybody?
Face-to-face meetings, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
And with whom did you meet during these discussions?
We met 3 times with Mr. Nifong and 2 detectives, Detective Hyman, who was just up here, and Detective Gottlieb. Each time, all 3 of those persons were present.
And do you know the dates of those 3 meetings?
I do. It's April 10th, April 21st, and May 12th.
And during those meetings, where did you meet?
At DNA Security, in our conference room.
Have you again prepared a document which sets forth what analysis was completed by each of those 3 meetings on April 10th, April 21st, and May 12th?
Yes, I have.
And if you'll look in your notebook, just one behind there at 236. That's it.
All right.
And is that a document you prepared?
Yes, it is.
And would it help illustrate your testimony about what testing was done by each of these 3 meetings?
Yes, it will.
Can you just explain generally how you set up this and what the colors mean in the columns?
Sure. There's a key right at the top. The colors didn't come across real nice on the overhead, but the yellow, what's supposed to be yellow, indicates that those items were analyzed and data was available on those dates. It's not the date that those items were received, but those are the dates where we had at least completed initial analysis enough so that some interpretation could be done. So anything highlighted in yellow as you go down the list of items was completed on April 10th. The next color was supposed to be blue. It is April 21st is the date that those items, the analysis of those items was completed sufficiently so that we could make some inferences from the information. And then the last one, which up there comes out to be kind of a, I don't know what that color is, but kind of like a brown. Those are items that were available, the analysis was available on May 12th.
Okay. And if you follow the columns down there on the right-hand side, if you follow down for April 10th, would that indicate all the items that were tested by that date?
You can glean the same information without using the colors just by going down the column. So everything that's indicated on the April 10th column, information from the analysis of those items was available on those dates.
So for example, on April 10th, the players, part of the players' reference specimens were, the testing had been done?
That's correct.
And also the sexual assault kit that you were just referencing before?
That's correct.
And then the next column, there would be some additional items such as the fingernails that had been delivered and other materials, other evidence items.
Right. So on April 21st, we had yet completed additional work on reference items as well as things like what you mentioned further down, some fingernails that were delivered.
All right. Starting with the April 10th meeting, the Y filer references, can you just generally explain what that is?
Those would be the initial Y chromosome analysis on the reference specimens. We immediately, when we got those reference specimens in, did a Y chromosome test on that because that was our primary objective. Do you want me to go down the rest of the list?
Well, let me stop you there. Do you essentially, from those Y filer references, do you obtain DNA profiles for each of the players in this case?
We have a Y chromosome profile for each individual player.
Okay, and that's essentially
that we had that day. We'll call them suspects. Or
okay, and you had the results on April 10th from both the sexual assault kit items and the Y filer or the DNA profiles for those players.
Yes, we did.
And had the results from the sexual assault kit items been compared to the players' DNA profiles, at least initially, by April 10th meeting?
Yes.
Do you recall whether prior to the April 10th meeting you had worked over the weekend to complete the initial testing on these items that you received on the 6th?
Yes, we did. Our entire crew worked I think we got the specimens on a Thursday, and we worked through the weekend, and I guess the 10th was a Monday, I think.
And did you call Mr. Nifong's office regarding the initial results?
We did. We called him Monday morning and let him know that we had completed the initial set of tests for those specimens.
And when did he come? Was it
that same day?
And you indicated, but just to make sure, can you tell us who was at that meeting on April 10th?
It was Mr. Nifong, Mr. Gottlieb, Mr. Hyman, myself, and Richard Clark, who is the president of our company.
And approximately how long did you meet with Mr. Nifong and the investigators on April 10th?
It was probably for maybe 2 hours, a couple hours. I don't have a record of it, but it was a lengthy meeting.
And was Mr. Nifong present?
The president of your company, who was that?
Richard Clark. Clark.
And was Mr. Nifong present for that entire meeting on April 10th?
Yes, he was.
Generally, what was discussed at that April 10th meeting?
Well, we reviewed all of the data that we had to that point in the case, but we also did what we do a lot of. It's what we try very hard to be good at, and it is to explain first the basis of the DNA testing, especially the Y chromosome test. What kind of information can our customer expect to get from that test? An overview of what we do in getting those results, and then in this case we went and looked specifically at these results and talked about what can be done from this point forward based on inferences we can make from this information. And I'll back that up a little bit when I say specifically in this case. We actually do that in all cases. We meet with investigators and prosecutors all the time and spend as much time as necessary explaining our work and what we do and how they can interpret that.
And would it be a fair characterization that at that first meeting, before you started talking about results, you had sort of a basic forensic lesson for Mr. Nifong and the investigators?
Yes, we did. You wouldn't get any college credits for it, but just a basic overview.
Did you explain what YSTR testing was? That was one of the things you had been asked to do?
Yes.
And did you discuss all the test results and analysis performed to date with Mr. Nifong and the investigators at that meeting?
Yes, we did.